And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forever Sports. Rassie Erasmus has officially announced his team to take on Argentina down in Durban. And for the first time, really, this year, consistency is the main thing. A couple of injury-enforced replacements, but apart from that, much of basically the same team that beat the All Blacks in that record victory in Wellington has been retained. There are returns for the likes of Damian Delende and Aneba Etzebeth. Those are both due to injuries because we've had to reshuffle, and a little bit of a change on the bench, also injury enforced. And so it very much seems that we kind of almost have a bit of a composition of the team that we believe right now can get us the best results. And I think that it's quite close to what our strongest team could actually be. But very interesting to see a lot of these players have been retained and been rewarded for the game that they demonstrated against the All Blacks. Before we get into it, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. This is the team that Rassie Erasmus has selected. And if you can see in the pack, just the one change. Eben Etzebeth in for Luat Diago, who is injured. Apart from that, it's an unchanged pack, which means that it is Oxen Chair, Malcolm Marx, and Thomas du Toit packing it all down in the front row from the start. They were backed up by Eben Etzebeth and Ruan Nokia, who has become a key fixture in the squad. He's basically become undroppable, to be perfectly honest. And week in, week out, he is being backed to do the business, and he is yet to disappoint. I said last year he was probably the only player really who grabbed that jersey and said unequivocally, I can contend with the best of them. Which, considering who he's up against, was pretty impressive. It's an unchanged loose trio. Sia Khaleesi, Pieter-Steph du Toit, Jasper Wiese. That is our best back three. We don't get stronger. I think this pack is close to our strongest pack, to be honest, at the moment. Maybe an argument can be made for Wilco in for Thomas du Toit if you want to go with our completely strongest pack. But I think that's pretty much our strongest pack right now, especially our best starting pack in terms of the way we want to play. Then it's a 19 combination of Kobus Reinach and Sasha Famagomazulu, which is unchanged. The hope is that Sasha might be able to make more than 20-odd minutes, which is what he managed against Wellington before coming off with injury. However, he is back, he is fit, and he will start once again. It is a changed centre combination. Damian Delende next to Kanan Moody. So a straight swap for Damian Williams, who shifts to number 15. And I think that what's going to be interesting to see how Damian Delende plays with Kanan Moody. And the fact that Kanan Moody is now playing with, he's played with Damian Willemse, he's played with an Andre Estes, and now he's played with a Damian Delende as well. Again, so he's played with all three of these centers throughout the season. And Kanan Moody very much seems to be sort of being lined up as the long-term replacement for JC Creel, who is not involved this weekend. There's unchanged two wings in Ethan Hooker on the left and Cheslin Colby on the right. Damian Willemse at fullback. As expected, really, he had to play fullback, given the fact that we've got all these sort of injuries. And then off the bench, we've got Jallinger Vessels, who shifts from the number 17 jersey to number 16 jersey. Wilco retains the number 18 jersey. Archis Name and Quacker Smith, as expected. Grant Williams is nursing a slight niggle. As a result, Morne van den Berg comes in on the bench and gets an opportunity to add a bit of impact. And Amani Libok, Andre Estes, and much the same as in New Zealand. It's so interesting to sort of see that we've retained so much of the core of the team, despite the fact that there are so many other big players around who could be part of the lineup. So in terms of what Rassie has had to say, and then we'll go through a bit of the stats, he says, we were pleased with the way the team rose to the challenge against the All Blacks in Wellington. And looking at the Pumas team and their strengths, we believe this would be the best team for this specific match. He said the makeup of this team not only allows us consistency in selection, but we'll also have the vast experience of Eben and Damian Delende in the starting team, who are excited to get back on the field again. On the bench, Jan Hendrik covers prop and hooker equally efficiently, so Bowen gets another chance along with Morne. In terms of the match itself, Rassie says that this is a vital match for both of us, and the Pumas. And if one takes into consideration that they beat New Zealand and Australia in the first 4 rounds of the competition, as well as the British and Irish Lions earlier in the season, there's no doubt we'll treat them with the respect they deserve. They've made big strides in the last few seasons and have an astute coach in Felipe Conte-Poni, so we know that they're going to throw everything at us. Adding to that, they boast a strong forward pack and extremely talented backs, so they pose all-round threats. He said, as things stand, any team could win the title, so we need to capitalize on the point scoring chances we create and play for 80 minutes if we want to get the desired result. Over and above that, we faced them in Durban 3 times and they've beaten us once, and that combined with their self-belief means the historical results between the teams will have no significance going into the clash. In terms of some of the stats, in terms of the record, we have played Argentina 38 times, we have won 33, lost 4 and drawn just 1. We've won 10 of our last 12 matches against the Pumas dating back to 2018. The only defeats during that was Santiago del Estero, which was last season's sort of complete implosion, and Mendoza back in 2018. And we have played them 3 times in Durban, and they beat us back in 2015. That was 10 years ago. Springbok flanker Springbok Khaleesi will play his 97th test match, leaving him only 3 matches short of becoming the 9th Springbok Centurion in the history of the game, whilst Eben Etzebeth will extend his record for the most cap Bok with 137 caps. There are 4 players in the starting lineup that all boast over 90 caps, by the way, with Etzebeth 136, Khaleesi 96, Peter Steph the Toy, and Damon Delendi both on 91 caps. There are 782 caps in the starting lineup. There are 256 in the back line. And of that, there are 526 among the forwards. There are 189 on the bench. In terms of the average player caps per player, in the back line is 37. In the forwards, it's 66. And the bench average is 24. So it's quite a nice sort of combination, really. From all the different aspects of it feeding into it. There is experience, there is some younger players and some newer players. You know, you are backing a Kane and Moody, for example, at outside centre. Ethan Hooker is getting an opportunity. You are seeing more of a Ruan Nokia. And then off the bench, you are seeing Jan Hendrik Wessels, Bowen Venter, and Morne van den Berg, for example. So I think it's a pretty perfect selection. I don't think they could have done much better, in all honesty. I'm trying to think. The only thing that I like, what that I don't like, is I really, really want to see more of Marnus van der Merwe. And I thought he was really good coming off the bench. I just think he is one of the few players that has not been given a genuine opportunity to prove a stake. I don't know if it's a case of he hasn't trained well enough in training, but he's not like he's been released. He keeps being retained, but he hasn't really got the opportunities that a young Hendrik Wessels has. And I still genuinely believe that if he gets the opportunities, he can take them. So that's... And I think what's important for him is that Pounding negotiates about him to come back to South Africa, potentially to play as URC Rugby, which would go a long way in terms of him pushing for that Springbok squad, because he gets himself right in front of the South African public as well as the coaches. I think this is a brilliant selection. I think it's incredibly strong. I think it definitely has enough to get the job done on Saturday. What do you think? What would you change? Are you happy with the side? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments below. And if you are not happy with the side, let me know why and what you would change in the starting lineup. Because I think that I don't think there's much you could really... I mean, maybe you could ask for, you know, on a 4, maybe an Andre Esterhuizen could start, but he's still involved on the bench, continue that whole hybrid role, for example. And again, at the end of the day, you're bringing in a Damien Delende who is world-class. I think that this is a tremendous selection. I genuinely do. So I'm going to put a poll up in the comments and ask, do you like this team? Trying to work out what's going on here. Oh, no, are we live? I think I should... Sorry, apologies for that. It actually came up and said that the stream is done. And I was actually losing my temper, but apparently we're back up. So I'm getting completely different information. YouTube came up and said that the stream was done. I didn't really know what was going on. So, but apparently we're still going, which is the main thing. All right, cool. Well, that's good news. Well, let's get the question. So, do you like this team? Do you like the team? Question mark, yes or no? If you don't like the team, again, I want to know why. Why don't you like the team? Don't just sit there and say, "Oh, I don't like it, I don't like it," and then when I say, "Well, what would you change?" There's no answer to that to what you would change. So you come. We've got to be better than that, and we need to be stand by our convictions. That's the big thing. So I've got the poll going on, and at the moment, jeepers me, are everybody excited with the team? Let's go through some comments. By the way, if you would like to feature in Rassie's Coach's Corner, please do consider sending a super chat. We are trying to get more likes to make the studio a bit more interactive. We also had a member this morning. It'd be great to see a couple more people join the members club. That is the pinned comment in the chat as well. Please do consider becoming a member. And please do consider sending a super chat and feature in Rassie's Coach's Box. And we're also going to be dropping our links, by the way, to our My Picks URC prediction leagues a bit later. We're going to be doing a look at the team that we selected this morning and whether how many points we got, for example, from it. But let's go to some of the comments, shall we? And a lot of people liking it. Black Diane saying, let's go. Kuba saying, let's go. Mana saying it's a very good team. And Ian Palidin, who's one of our long-time members, says Morne for Grant is a change. It is indeed. It is an injury-enforced change. Mark Stoney said, Jasper Visa proved that we missed a proper number 8 for a good chunk of the season. Tristan says, shame that Marnus van der Merwe not in the team. Trump Nick says, strong team bench will bring a huge impact in the last 30. Derek says, Morne van den Berg, only player I didn't see coming all the best to the box. Well, it is an injury-enforced one, so that is why I quite like it. I'm excited to see him give an opportunity and see what he can do. But it is an injury-enforced side over there. Liza Fitness says, Clovis and Morne are the kings of knock-ons. To be fair, Grant Williams actually had more knock-ons than Clovis Reinach in the last 2 games. Fun fact. Roz says, yes, Williams is out at the moment, so we have mentioned that. Dylan Snyder says, how can they leave Jesse Creel out this team? Jesse Creel is not injured. Jesse is an experienced player, and on the moment, we can't chop and change. Is do or die for the championship. Well, in theory, bringing him back would be chopping and changing because Kane Moody did play the last game. So, damned if you do, damned if you don't, really. This is actually technically the continuity selection versus the bringing back Jesse Creel, for example. The only thing is that there's a certain amount of, if you play Damien Delende with the Jesse Creel, it's a far more experienced centre pairing with regards to how they work together. Petrus Delport, though, says it's a great lineup. Manabongwe says, pretty solid team. I'm so glad they seem to be moving away from the 2023 centre combination. We really need fresh combinations. Damien Delende plus Moody is interesting. Can't wait to see how they go. Let's just make sure that very small clarification. It is a World Cup winning centre combination that they are moving away from. But I understand what you mean. Jared says, would have started Esterhuizen at 12. Love that combo with Moody. And I also feel like Marnus van der Merwe needed another go off the bench. Grant Williams, much better than Morne too. Again, guys, he's injured. I don't know how many more times I need to tell him. Grant Williams is injured. Grant Williams is injured. Grant Williams is injured. I'm just going to keep saying it because everybody keeps jumping in and they say, where's Grant Williams? He's injured. I don't need to put a little big thing over there that says he's injured. Dear. Aiden Smith says, good team. We are going for bonus point wins here. And Gerrit Hatting says, trust Rassie. Yandre says, Bowen Fete, Morne van den Berg, not bar quality. It's a big shock given the fact that I think if you look at it, I don't think Morne van den Berg's ever, I think he's lost a single game in his Bok career so far. And has also played, I think, 6 games, I think he's got for the Boks, and has the man of the match in one of them as well. So, ballsy to come up with that statement. AJS says, would have given Marnus or Bongi a go. Jan should be loose head and drop Bowen. Chloe Udan says, I like the team, but I'd like to see Mani at 10, Gaza at 12, Moody at 13, and Sasha at 15. That was what I mentioned this morning. Maybe the only other way, potentially, you could look at doing the Damien and the Sasha mix is you could put a Sasha at 15 and a Damien back at 12. But Peter Stewart says, I thought Rassie would give Ox a rest, but he doesn't need one. And Jacques Ackerman says, Mani should be given a go at 15. Saif says, if the horses for courses approach is true, I think this is our team against teams that play attacking, running rugby. Interesting observation in terms of maybe this is kind of the way we see teams that like to play the ball. And for example, against teams like France, we might have a different approach and a bit more of a physical approach because they don't maybe like to play as much running rugby. So interesting looking at that in terms of a horses for courses approach. Vody says, can't understand why Faf has fallen out of the favor so much. He was so good in the World Cup. King Power said, Grant Williams is good, but we don't need him right now. Jacques Yakafuri says, this will be Moody's biggest test defense-wise. Yeah, look, playing against those Jaguars, Pumas defenders is going to be a big test. And just And Jacques says Grant's the best 9. Regardless if he thinks so, he is injured. And so MC Dizzle says, wait, where's Grant? I know everybody's jumping on here, but I'm gonna have to do it. Because we can't be having all the comments about the same thing. Right, I cannot make it any clearer than that. Just as a bit of a clear for everybody that jumps in late. As Nightcrawler says, where's Grant? Heard he's injured. Not your everyday cultist says, our breakdown needs to be perfect, else we'll get eaten alive by the Pumas. Dean Adams says, Argentina struggled in second half, so expecting them to break the Argies down in the first half. You know what? It's funny. I've been getting all this talk about the fact that I'm disrespecting the Argentina by saying that we should be winning with a bonus point, and I'm not taking them seriously enough. And I'm sorry. Let's look at some stats. We have got... Here's our record. We have played them 38 times. We have lost 4 times. We have an 86.8% win record against Argentina. Yes, the last time we lost was last year. Before that was 2018. Before that, the only time we lost at home was 2015, which is 10 years ago. They're currently ranked 6th in the world, and they've got a 50% loss rate. And a 50% win rate, but it depends on how you want it to be. And as a result, I've got no issue with saying that we need to go and win with a bonus point. And I understand they've played some nice rugby here and there, but I'm sorry, stats-wise, number 1 side in the world against the number 6 side in the world, who's at a 50% win rate this year, a team that we have beaten 86.8% times the times we played them. We need to go out and get the business done. Everyone helping out there and saying that, letting everybody else know that Grant Williams is injured. And the sad thing is, people might be genuinely asking if he's not injured, and people are just not taking the piss. Sean says, we need Pollard stability off the bench. And King Power says, Liebach will stabilize the box with try assist. Big fan of that. Just Rock Up says, 32 points to 22 is my Bok prediction. You know, there's actually not a massive amount to say about this team. I was actually trying to find my angles about it. We're trying to work out where we kind of going to talk about. And there's almost not a lot because it's so consistent. And I think... my biggest takeaway here is I think we are starting to get closer to what our new look, inverted commas, strongest team or best team kind of looks like. And I think it's starting to look like this. And what's I think so encouraging is there are new faces here. If we look at players who weren't at the 2023 World Cup, in this 23, there was no Thomas Tatoy, there was no Ruan Nokia, there was no Sasha, there was no Ethan Hooker. There was no Jan Vessels, there was no Bowen Fenter, there was no Wilco Low, there was no Morley van den Berg. That's 8 players in the 23 that weren't at the last World Cup. That are in inverted commas, potentially our strongest, and I think the injuries, for example, are Lurt Diago, who ironically actually also wasn't part of the 2023 World Cup, as well as Apelele Fassi, as well as Jean-Luc Dupré. So, everybody that was worried that we're not changing, we're not progressing, for example, that we're not building depth, without being mean, you're wrong. Because we are. We very, very clearly are. And I think the main thing as well is we are starting to see combinations develop, and we're starting to see players being backed in positions where they might be worried about depth. Jesse Creel can make the next World Cup. I think age-wise, Profile-wise, he can make the next World Cup. Lekanya, however, he's never been the same after that injury. And I don't think there are tons of 13s coming through. There's a man called Henk van Wyk who keeps getting injured. If he stayed fit, then I think he'd actually probably be in the mix. So Canan Moodie is now being developed as the future Bok 13. Same as Ethan Hooker, for example, I think is being... We could have gone with Maxwell Mapimpi, but we've gone with Ethan Hooker again. And I think all of a sudden, long-term, we're looking at replacements there. Ruan Nokia is the long-term replacement for Franco Master and Alua Diaga, and he's being backed. Thomas Toy, Vilko Lowe, both went at the last World Cup. We've got injuries to France Moherba as well as Chevron Yakane. Vincent Koch has yet to play a single game in the Rugby Championship, same as Bongi Mbanambi. Same as, I think Franco Master hasn't played since the second Australian test. So we're almost all of a sudden seeing players who are inverted commas surplus to requirements and are still needed in the squad and still make the squad and are still good enough. But we're going with other players ahead of them, which is a really exciting position to be in because we're starting to really formulate what is starting to be our strongest sort of 30-yard players. So I'm not talking about our strongest 15, for example, our starting 15 and our best bench and but if we look at it, for example, building 2027, who are our core 33 players? And I think we're starting to see them. I really do think we're starting to get a good idea of what that World Cup squad might look like. And in fact, tomorrow we might even do a bit of a World Cup barometer to kind of see, based on these selections, what is starting to change. Rano says, I like this team. I think we are really building some momentum here. Just want to say I like Damien Willemse at 12. I like him as well. I think he would have stayed at 12 had the issue to the injury to Apele Fassi not forced that change. Petro says, why can't Andre Esterhuizen start after the performance? That is not fair according to me. Well, I think, again, it's never about, you played well, you deserve a start, for example. Kwagga Smith continues to drop absolute 10 out of 10 performances off the bench, but he's used as a bench player. I think Andre Esterhuizen is exactly kind of that frame where we've used him as this incredibly strong impact player that he can come on at flank, for example, and this can kind of be a 6-2 split. That he can come on at center, and this can be a and it can be an orthodox 5-3 split. But there are options, and that's the main thing, is the fact that we're really building that kind of depth and those options for him to really be able to contribute in different ways, which I think is a really exciting thing, and I think a very positive thing. Stone says, I would like to see the center pairing of Jesse Creel on the inside and Moody on the outside. I don't think Jesse's ever really played it inside, to be honest. So it would be quite an interesting combination. Adrian says, until Eden Park, we struggled to get the ball from the ruck to the wingers. Now we will see if it is because of Damien Delende or Creel. I don't think it's as simple as that, in all honesty. I think we went to the aerial game a lot in Wellington, and that's where a lot of our box got a lot of our centers got the opportunities. I don't think all of a sudden it was necessarily because of the incredible distribution from Damien Willemse and Canan Moodie. In fact, if I remember correctly, I don't think Damien Willemse actually passed that many times. Dylan M, our unicorn, who's one of our members, says box by 50 with this team. Tahir Ram says, do you think makes this team from the players unavailable to be in the squad? Who do you think makes this team from the players unavailable to be in the squad? It's a very good question, my man. Maybe if France Moherba comes back and is good enough to get in there, I think that I still think Daniel Willemse is our best 15, but maybe you could look at putting him at 12 and Apele Fassi at 15. Alua Diaga, I think it's a coin toss in terms of if he makes the side. Same with Jean-Luc Dupré. There's a lot to talk about Cameron Harnicorn, and I think obviously he is a very exciting player. I don't know who you play him ahead of. Very different player to a Jasper Wiese, who was so good in that other test. You could play him potentially in the number 6 role, but is he going to do more than what Khaleesi is doing right now? If you play him off the bench ahead of a Kwagga Smith, is he going to bring the same as that right now? So I think from a loose head point of view, I think Gerard Steenekamp probably makes the side back on the bench. They've always sort of backed him in that role. Grant Williams probably goes to the number 9, but I don't think it's a lot, to be honest. I think this is pretty close to what we, in inverted commas, think our best team is. So I think it's a great selection, and I think we're starting to see a little bit more information about where we are. Sean says, Willemse had a great game last week. Let's hope it continues 100%. Jean-Ray North Nachel says, defense is going to be paramount. RGs are super elusive in the midfield. Do you think the Kluivert will be at the World Cup, or are we just using him for the Rugby Championship? I think it depends on how he goes. at in the URC, for example. Rana Bosman says, my only worry is at tight head. France and Vincent held the 80 minutes down very well. Not super excited our current number 3 stocks. Well, we're obviously going to get France Bohova back at some stage. Vincent Koch, I think they are basically moving along. We obviously have to wait and see what's going to happen with Asanate and Tlabakanya. His hearing is set for December, so that's going to be a big moment. The fact that they are playing them, I think, means that they back a reasonably good decision from them. But I think that is a definitely a position we're looking at options. You know, I think we're definitely looking at that. Morris says Peter Steph needs to get a break, a rest. Peter Steph the Toy has not played any club rugby for over a year. Peter Steph the Toy has only played the 6 or 7 games this season for the Boks. That's been his entire year of rugby. So I don't know if he does need a break. In all honesty, he's barely played rugby this season. Eugene says Kirtley can free up Cheslin to play at fullback. I don't think we'll ever see that, in all honesty. Everybody keeps wanting it. I don't think it's that simple. It's not as simple as just putting an X-Factor person at fullback. And I'm not saying Cheslin Colby wouldn't do a great job, but I don't think he suits the fullback in terms of what we need at fullback. Lucas says, Mapimpi wears at no. Rassie, can't believe there's no, or maybe we'll see him at England. That would be great. If so, let's hope everything goes well. It's the new generation, I think. That's the big thing. I mean, I did say it was a bit weird almost when Mapimpi was added back in, given the fact that we had so many different options and you kind of go back and bring in the experience, but he hasn't played. Same as a Vincent Cox, same as a Franco Mostert, same as a Bongi Mbonambi. Dwarf says, with Sasha at 10, Mani should be at fullback with Willemse at 12. I mean, Mani hasn't played fullback in many a year. So, I mean, I know he can and has. I think in that combination, I'd have Mani at 10, Damien at 12, and I'll probably have Sasha at fullback. And I think that's the way I'd go. So, and Menelik says, Bo needs to up his game. He's our weakest prop, in my opinion. Well, to be fair, I mean, let's go check how much game time he's actually had. Because I actually don't think he's had really a proper go. He's played a sum total of 89 minutes across 4 games. So I don't think we can. I mean, he did score a try as well. And the majority of that came against Georgia. So it's difficult, I think, to judge Bone Fenter because we haven't really seen a lot of him. We've seen basically a 1 game of rugby from him. And I think that same as Marnus van der Merwe, they need better opportunities. And I really hope we can try and put Argentina to bed relatively quickly so that they can get a genuine run out and they can get a bit of opportunity. Well, he can. Marnus van der Merwe can't, obviously not being in the side. But this says, do you still back Lorenzo to get in the squad? I think down the line, I don't think he's the finished product at all yet. I think he's still got a lot to learn. I think he's very exciting on attack, very quick, very X-Factor. I think he still has a lot to learn defensively, which is one of the biggest roles of a 13. And I think that will be a defining aspect of his game and how he improves on that. And Abba Aslan says, a Boks need to win with a bonus point, nothing less, and hopefully the Wallabies winning 1 out of 2. And the London test with the Boks support there, please God, we can win these TRC. In terms of the my picks, let's get into some my pick stuff, shall we? Because we've got a couple of things to drop in the chat. The first is you can join the SA URC Conference Prediction League. So if you would like to join our Prediction League for just the South African teams in the URC, that is an option. So basically go to My Picks, which is our own platform, and go and join that league. We want to try and see if we can get up to 50, 60, 70. In fact, I'd actually just like to see 100 people in that league by the end of the week. That is just for the South African games. We have then also got a league for the entire URC. So if you're big into predicting the entire round of games, for example, we have got a league for that as well. So go and check out My Picks. And we're going to go check out My Picks right now because we're going to go look at how many teams, how many players we got right in the team we put together this morning, and go through that because we put it all together. But I think that we probably didn't get as many points as we would have liked. And let's go and see exactly what that kind of looks like. And right, so we need to go to our player ratings. And we're going to have a look at that. And then we're going to go look at the My Picks score predictions as well, because that's the thing. I mean, first of all, join our URC prediction league, but we also need you guys to go do our predictions for the match this weekend. Because I need at the end of the day, the nice thing about it is it basically aggregates all the scores, so it means that we can see what the average rating is, and that I think is kind of quite nice for the people that don't really know what's going on, and they can kind of go with a general sort of idea. Because I think that's one of the big things is that a lot of people sometimes, especially now the games, and I think what we also, maybe you guys give us feedback, is one of the things we're looking at is if, for example, you do the URC prediction league, but you forget to submit your predictions, it will default give you the general prediction, basically the overall prediction that people, the average prediction is probably the best way of putting it. So go and get involved, people, in those leagues, and let's see how many people we can get. At the end of the day, it's almost like a challenge. I personally think we have got the best creator community in rugby, and we get to really see that when we go and start things like this. So let's see how many people we can get. And I want you to invite your friends, your neighbors, your dogs, your granny's dogs, the works in that. Slappy says, don't agree with Mornay van den Berg. I do. Not your everyday culture says, Steve, I want to ask you if you think this is our best loose trio to counter Argentina's phenomenal breakdown interference. Is there anyone you would change in that regard? I think the only kind of change would be, I don't think, I mean, the big thing for me is I think you need a locks to get involved. I think you need a Ruan Nokia to consistently hit rucks. I think you need and you need Siya Kolisi, obviously, to do a lot of work there. And that is going to be, I think, the biggest concern, really, with regards to that. People, I need you guys to give me 2 seconds. I just need to go and sort something out because there's nobody here at home. But I don't want to finish the live stream. So if you can give me 4 seconds, people, I'll be back very, very quickly. Just keep checking the team out and get in the comments though. Well, let me put out a poll in a minute, and I'll chat to you guys in just a bit. But I'll be back literally in 2 seconds. Right, we're back. Nobody panic. We are back. Woo! That was a bit of the extra cardio worked in for the day. But yeah, we're gonna go through our the check out my pick stuff like that. I want to see actually who of you guys have joined the league, because I want to see, and when I go into it later, that I'm not the only person on the league, because that will be not ideal at all. So I want to see that you guys are joining the different leagues, getting involved. See if you can beat me. You probably can. I'm a terrible predictor artist, which is ironic for somebody who does a lot of prediction shows and stuff like that. But Yeah, well, you gotta get good at something at some point. But I see there are some people already in the leagues, which is good to see. And as I said, there are two different leagues. There is the SAURC Conference, of which there are currently 5 members, and there's the FSURC, which is the general league, and that. And then I want to see you guys create your own leagues. Somebody also going create your league, get your mates involved. Let's see how many people we can get. We're gonna almost have like a countdown actually of how many my picks people we've got, because it's all you guys that are powering. This is essentially almost your platform to a certain degree, because it's all been built by what you guys have wanted from us and stuff like that. So we got to really back the my picks vibes. Candace saying, I just hope Damien Delende takes the ball at full speed without stopping all before making contact like he always does. It stops the box backline momentum. Bold, I think, to make those sort of accusations on a Damien Delende who has been probably one of our most consistent players, arguably ever. But yeah, I think my gut says chances are Damien Delende will be one of the top performers on Saturday. I think he's so criminally underrated for all the years and stuff. He's been absolutely doing such a good job over the years. And so people, just in case you were wondering earlier, those who were on the earlier show, we got 12 points from the team announcement this morning, which is not bad. It's not bad. It's not brilliant, in all honesty. We got a couple of things. We needed to have been a bit better, to be honest. But it's not terrible. It's not terrible. Eric says, our URC team will most likely only use box in December, and then half of them injured or must be rested. Super Rugby is much better, equals always full-strength SA teams. Yeah, I don't miss Super Rugby at all, in all honesty. I mean, I get what you're trying, but to be fair, I think it's the same for all the other sides. It's not like, somebody like a Leinster consistently always has their Irish player. So I think that whole sort of weighing up and building that squad depth is a problem for all the teams, and it's about the best teams that can rotate and build that kind of depth. And I think that building that kind of depth is just what we're missing at the moment. Kitson says, interesting how much can change in a year due to injury. Last year versus Argentina, squad included Malherbe, Bongi, Jaden, Ulrich, Pollard, Stennekamp, Koch, Lance, Krill, and Fassi. Well, there we go. And yet, all of those changes, and we look at this team and we go, yes, we're excited about that team. That's, I think, the best part is I think that, we're really excited about what's to come. Malabonga says, Hanukkah would probably make the bench in a 6-2 split. 100%. I think that's probably about right. Rosker Hill said, is the SA Japan game an official test match? Tracking Sia 100 here and EM 150. It is indeed. It is a test match. So Sia will not be, so his 100th will be, well, I'm assuming he'll play the next two games. That'll be 97, 98. I don't necessarily see him playing against Japan. So maybe 99 France, maybe 100 Ireland. That would be a nice thing. But I think it is going to be 100 overseas at this rate. I don't see how he doesn't. The only way he doesn't is if you don't play him in the second test against Twickenham and you only play him 2 on the overseas tour. And then he has his 100th next year. But I think it'll probably be overseas, which is not ideal. But you can't always make things work like that. And I think he'd rather just be playing than not to worry about having a great occasion for his 100th. I think 100 at the Viva Stadium would be pretty spectacular. And you go and beat the Ireland. That would be pretty cool. Marnie says, good team, logical combinations. Jesse Creel, is he injured or out of favor? In theory, out of favor at the moment, to be honest. Because he's fit. So I don't know if out of favor is the right word, for example. It's just different combinations, to be honest, and different what we are. Sean says, outpick Delende before Willemse at 12. And Graham Roos says, it's not bold. He does slow down before taking contact. You know that he's statistically made more meters as an inside centre than I think anybody else in the last 10 years. So, yeah. Still not sure. I mean, when you say it's a fact, for example, I disagree with that, to be honest. But hey, we're all allowed to have our opinions, aren't we? Butler says, I got 21 out of 23. Oh, there it is, Butler. I mean, which ones did you get wrong? Which ones did you get wrong? Says, this is the passing of the baton. This is our team going forward. To be fair, I think we were probably all blindsided by the Grant Williams out, Morning van den Berg in. I think that's probably something that we didn't really predict, but it is an injury-enforced change. So, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Eric Records is going to hammer Oz. Diggins says numbers have become irrelevant in the backline. Yeah, to a certain degree, I know what you're saying, and I kind of agree to a certain degree. I think, especially even moving forward, I would love to see Damien Delende swapping it up with Damien Willemse this weekend. And at times, I'd love to see, even if it means like Kane Moody kind of drops to a third or fourth receiver, but Damien Willemse at first receiver, Damien Delende at second receiver, and kind of seeing how that might also work. I think we just need to be very good at using Damien Willemse as a ball carrier on the attack. That is the main thing I think we have to focus on, is how do we make the best out of your best players. Frank says, Frank SA in South Sudan, awesome team. Well, I think 94% of the people of over 500 votes have all said that they're a big fan of the team. So yeah, that is good. That is good to see. And if we go look at the round, by the way, so who's gotten right? So the... Oh, no, that was last round. That was last round. In terms of how many people got right, in terms of the team prediction, stuff like that. Right, so people, I have seen you guys all signing up for my picks, which is really good to see. So I want to see you guys create your own leagues. Swing me an invite. Drop me a mail. Swing me an invite. Happy to join leagues if you guys want me. Happy for you guys to be in some of the other leagues and stuff like that. We are seeing more and more people starting to join, which is very exciting. And we've got some interesting fixtures this weekend from a URC point of view. It all starts with Stormers versus Leinster on Friday night. Then we've got Ulster versus Dragons. We've got Glasgow Warriors versus Sharks. Bulls versus Ospreys at 2 o'clock. We've got Zebra versus Edinburgh at 4 o'clock. Scarlets versus Munster. And Connacht versus Benton, and then the last game is, well, same time as Connacht, to be fair, is Cardiff versus the Lions. So you're going to have to go make all those predictions for the likes of Mali M, James, Just Rock Up, Tahu Rahim, JDP, who have all joined that league. And for the SA Conference League, however, you only have to predict the 4 South African teams. So that makes life a little bit easier in terms of keeping it up and not forgetting to make your teams, to be honest. It says, I write this comment to all to say, I can't believe Grant is injured. Leonard says, a great team selection. Box will win confidently. Werner says, who will be our Peter Step for Toy backup? Well, Ruan Nokia can play at 7 if needs be. Quagga Smith can obviously also don the number 7 as well. Andre Estazen can also. But in terms of your long-term backup, Vincent Stuka is an option. Ulrich Lowe is obviously injured. He becomes an option. Jonathan Dupree, if he gets fit, becomes an option. But let's say pick Van der Merwe and Archie to start with Marks and Eben on the bench. Well, not. I don't think it's outrageous picks. I think Rassie's done you dirty over there. But lekker. People, we're gonna wrap up there. Thank you very much for joining me and keep me company throughout the afternoon. We will be live once again tomorrow morning. So make sure you come and check it all out. And yeah, please do smash a like on the video.